Are you looking for an update on the 2020 real estate market and how it ended year over year? Well, stay tuned as we're going to cover some crucial data to give you an indication of what you should expect in 2021. Hi, I'm Theresa Wellman with HomeownerExperience.com, your local San Jose, California realtor. Here again with my monthly update with real data. So today we're going to cover the San Jose real estate market, how it's performed year over year with perspective of all the data closed through 2020 and what I expect to see in the coming 2021 spring market. So let's go ahead and jump into the computer and start looking at the data and the charts. Take a look at this data. If you're familiar with this chart, I show it every month and update it. The green area is sales, yellow is inventory, and orange and blue are prices. So we had an unusually late peak in price and the number of sales this year, likely due to COVID-19 impact. But the price peak was in October. Wow, we usually see May, June, July. So quite a different market. And we finally, just in the last couple months, have seen a seasonal drop in the number of sales, as well as a little bit in the prices. But we've had very low inventory in 2020. If you look at this yellow line, we are way below what we would typically see in the last several years, and just the whole year stayed really low, right? We never really had a peak. So it looks a little bit like what the crazy market we had in 2017, not quite as low and a little bit broader, but interesting. So let's look at this dashboard here. In December, like I mentioned, and you saw in the chart, prices softened slightly, about 4.3% on average compared to November. But we're up 15% year over year. So this is just a little seasonal slump. And due to the buyers being out, or some buyers taking the time off, there's a little bit less sales. And that's typically, again, seasonal. We expect that. So sales were down about 9%, which is not bad actually for December. So let's go back and look at that information again. So the yellow bars here are comparing the last 3 months of the year, October, November, and December. So if we look here at the right side of the chart of 2020, you will see that we had a lot of sales, much more than normal. The last 3 years were nowhere near the level of sales that we saw in 2020 that late in the year. So pretty cool. And the price peak we talked about was October. In December, in 2017, we saw a price peak actually as well in December because the inventory was so extremely low. But in 2020, the peak was October, and typically we see it in May or June. This is showing 2019, we had a typical year, and 2018 was a typical year, and then 2016 had a much more typical year where prices are peaking kind of in the midsummer. Inventory was about the same as 2019 in December. Look at that yellow line here, the bottom of the market. And what happened at the end of 2019, early 2020? Wow, we just really shot off in the market. Look at that price increase that we saw early in 2020. Now that dip there was uncharacteristic, and of course that was related to COVID-19. As you can see, the peak was a little bit in March and then softened and then again increased into a new peak in October. So history says that we're going to see a really big spring again here in 2021. I can tell you I'm already seeing a lot of multiple offers. I've had buyers bidding the time after Christmas, before New Year's, and that first week of January, we've had 41 offers, 14 offers that my buyers have been competing with. So the market is very hot right now. And that's what I would expect based on history. So yes, today's San Jose sellers market is a seller's market. Now we're talking about single families. I will get into the condo market, which is slightly different. But the San Jose single family market only has 11 days of inventory, which is extremely low. The 17-year average for the data that I have for San Jose is actually, that's a percentage, is 41% of properties in contract. And we're today at 70% of properties in contract. Wowzers, right? Pending sales were slightly down, while inventory was down even more, which pushed that buyer demand to overbid and compete with an average of 104.1%. Yes, this market needs inventory. So here's a quick snapshot of the condo market. This is all the way back to 2003, and the lines are the same colors, so you can translate it really easily. But the days of inventory in the condo market currently stands at about 30 days. So still actually a decent market, but nothing near as hot as the single family market. Sales were pretty strong in December. Again, they're experiencing kind of the same thing, a late buying season this year. But inventory is still a little bit higher, and that's kind of what has slowed the pace or the feel of the condo and townhome market, because inventory is higher than usual for this time of year. Okay, so let's talk about interest rates. Interest rates is one of the huge reasons that buyer interest is so strong. And I think COVID-19 has also had a lot of families and households consider what's right for them in the long term. And people are making a move because of that as well. And it's just much more affordable. Look at that. 2.67% 30-year fixed mortgage. Wow. Now, this is an average survey across the entire country. Depends on multiple factors of banks and such. But just to put it in a little perspective, in 2008, it was 6%. 2001, when I bought my first house, 6.5%. 1980 was all the way at 18.45%. So yes, these rates are historical, phenomenal, amazing rates. And this here is a 5-year perspective on the chart shown here. And you can see we're at a low. So excellent rates. If you're looking at moving, now is the time to make it most affordable. So here's the chart of the S&P 500 versus the Santa Clara County average single-family home price. And I bring this up because there was a lot of scare when the stock market reacted when COVID-19 hit the economy. And the stock market went way down, right? People were worried that was going to affect the housing prices greatly. But I thought, you know what? This is an aberration. It's small. The housing prices had already softened in 2019, and the stock market hadn't shown that. So there was a little correction, and then it's recovered, right? The stock market's recovered. And right now, we're actually showing the stock market quite a bit higher than the housing market, which also supports my information and prediction that the spring market is going to be very hot and appreciate. Now let's look at unemployment. Unemployment has continued to improve. I think over the holidays it might have adjusted, but we don't have the data for that yet. This is November at 5.1%, so slowly recovering. But at least locally here, we did lock down again for the holiday time frame, so unemployment probably took a little tick up. So we will see that data when it's available. Lastly, let's talk about what you should do if you're looking to make a move in 2021. Buyers, you definitely should check out my home buying process series. I've done several videos, step 0 to 3, working on 4 to be published soon. It's really walking you step by step through the process. And sellers, if you're looking to move, you really do need to prep your property to get the most money out of it. So definitely check out my video on the 8 improvements to increase your home value. And those will be up here on the screen for you to click. Thanks. Feel free to reach out with any direct questions, subscribe to this channel, or check out the link below to subscribe to these market updates via email once a month. Thank you.